I didn't think that was possible.
These two Baltimore County mothers can't believe what they just learned.
It's terrifying.
Maryland is home to about 6,500 registered sex offenders. According to the Sex Offender Registry, 9 offenders in 7 locations live within 1 mile of this bench in Rogers Forge.
Yeah, it's wild.
Where Casey Gerlach and Mary Frances Genser are sitting. But it's specifically where these two sex offenders live that have them stunned.
What did you think the law was?
That you couldn't live within so many feet of a building or a space like this where there are children.
These two convicted sex offenders live on either side of this open space. On the Sex Offender Registry, the area is not labeled, but if you type the address for this registered sex offender into Google Maps, this is the street view from right in front of the home. In that open space, between where these two sex offenders live, are Dumbarton Middle School and Rogers Forge Elementary. One of those offenders is Tier 3, reserved for the most severe sex crimes. This man was convicted of distributing and manufacturing child pornography, and according to the registry, he lives across from 2 schools.
You shouldn't have to, be in a position to put yourself within close proximity and worry about your children when someone's been convicted of something this serious.
Yes.
I just can't believe that there's not a law.
Yeah.
Well, there is a law, but it may not be what you think. In Maryland, it is illegal, punishable by up to 5 years in jail and a $5,000 fine for a convicted sex offender to be on school property. But it's perfectly legal for them to live next to school property. In Maryland, a sex offender can live wherever they want. There are no residency restrictions.
Why is that allowed?
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Does that worry you?
Absolutely. Our children need to be protected.
Project Baltimore wanted to know whether this is common. In only a few minutes of looking through the state sex offender registry, we found 23 convicted sex offenders just in Baltimore County, living close enough to 13 schools that they could see the school property from their properties. Many of them, like in Rogers Forge, live directly across from the school. This sex offender was convicted of a sexual offense against an elementary school-age child. According to the registry, he now lives next to 2 elementary schools. Again, you can't see them on the registry map, but they are Dogwood Elementary and Children's Manor Montessori in western Baltimore County. And look at this. At Berkshire Elementary School in southeastern Baltimore County, there are 5 sex offenders that live close enough to the school they can see it from their properties.
Do you think Maryland should revisit perhaps this law?
Absolutely.
Yeah, without question.
In 2007, then state delegate and now Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski, a Democrat, introduced a bill in Annapolis to prevent convicted sex offenders from living within 2,000 feet of a school.
Delegate Cox for House Bill 847.
In 2021, State Delegate Dan Cox, a Republican, introduced a similar measure.
The real issue here is protecting our children. There are 40 states in the United States that have similar legislation.
This is footage from 2021 when the bill was being debated in Annapolis. Cox's bill prohibited certain sex offenders from living within 1,000 feet of a school, child care facility, park, or playground. Opponents of the bill said if sex offenders cannot live within 1,000 feet of those places, then there's very few places they could live, which creates problems.
And that basically has the effect of driving people somewhere else or undercover, and it makes it more difficult to track. If you drive them into homelessness, it's much harder to track them.
Neither bill got out of committee.
I've talked to a number of people, a number of friends, and everyone can't believe that.
I personally believe in recovery, but I think that there are some crimes that are just, you're going to have to live with them for the rest of your life and the consequences of your actions for the rest of your life, even if you are reformed.
So what do other states do? If Maryland has no restrictions on where a convicted sex offender can live, what about Virginia, Delaware, and Pennsylvania? We looked at the laws in those states and found Maryland is an outlier. That part of the story Wednesday. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.